We occasionally get the question, how do I know this impact tuning tool is leaving the pin stable the way that I expect it to? We also occasionally get the question, how do I fix the problem that I'm having with my impact tuning not being as stable as I'm used to? First off, that second question is typically from extremely experienced technicians who have a lot of skill based around a lever type tuning hammer, a traditional lever type tuning hammer. So for those people, and for new technicians who are learning this as a native language, so to speak, it's a really good idea to understand exactly what the verbs and nouns do on an impact hammer, to use that continued metaphor. So, on an impact hammer, compared to a lever type tuning hammer, you have very much of a bump technique. So here's the tuning pin, top, bottom of the tuning pin. Now I'm with an impact hammer or a jerk technique with a lever type tuning hammer. I'm moving the top of this pin and the bottom of the pin at the same time. Rolling friction is less than static friction. Static friction is greater than rolling friction. So friction in motion is less than friction static. With the lever type or the pull type motion, I'm moving the top of this pin, move, 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 and then the bottom catches up. Sometimes it snaps, pop. Move, 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 pop. Sometimes it's a lagging effect, and these are pretty, okay, yeah, that works pretty good. Sometimes it's a lagging effect. With an impact hammer, it is move, 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 all in one motion. That's an exaggerated definition. It's an exaggerated explanation, but that does happen. The other thing that rolling friction versus static friction does for us with an impact hammer is the singing length and non-singing length of the string, the way this string renders across these bearing points. So this is going to tend to be more equal with the singing length. That's good and that's bad, but you do need to understand it. A third difference with the impact hammer compared to a rigid type lever is that you don't have the flag pulling effect with a lever type. You're working out here at the end of the radius, okay? So if I'm working out here, I'm pulling and I'm working in other axes as well. It's almost impossible to avoid. So when I'm pulling, because I'm not the Terminator, because I don't operate on servos, I'm not just rotating in this pure axis. I'm also doing this and so on and so forth. It's very difficult to impossible to avoid. So that's an effect that you have, if you're an experienced tuner, incorporated into your technique naturally. It's a normal part of your technique, whether you realize it or not. A lot of people know that they're doing it and use it deliberately. A lot of people that don't know that they're doing it and are using it subconsciously, but everybody has figured out how to do that. So, with an impact hammer, you are operating it right down at this tuning pin. It is very difficult to accidentally flag pull it. You do still have some of this force vector. Some of this force vector does still go into the forward and backward axes, but it's significantly less. And instead of a variable, now it's a constant. So it's doing the exact same thing every time. If you're working on a piano that does want to be flag pulled, that piano's dialect, it wants to be spoken to that way. You can move up here. You can hold the tuning lever up here and just give a quick tug or a quick push. Easy peasy. Now, let's take a look at how this actually works. Okay, now we're flat. Let's make this completely unstable. We're just going to throw this totally out of whack here. Okay, now let's tune this to where it's supposed to go. Pretty close, not quite there yet. I'm about on. I have moved down, I've moved flat onto pitch. That's where I want it to be. Now, knowing that I've moved flat onto pitch, I know that the singing length and the tension in the non-singing length is different. I've got less tension in the non-singing length. So if I strike this key now, I'll probably pull this extra tension from the singing length, from the non-singing length. They will equalize with the hammer blow, and that will cause my singing length to go flat. Don't want that. So what I'm going to do with my very final motion is give it a bump sharpward. Now, I've moved that a little bit sharpward. That I've actually moved the pitch. I didn't want to do that. So let's give it another try. Okay, let's take a feel how this works. And that's stable. I can feel exactly what the pin is doing with my hand. Now, I am not in constant connection with the tool like I am with a lever type tuning hammer. However, I have as much or more feedback to what the piano is doing, to what the tuning pin is doing. When I toss this tool, when I toss that weight, number one, I feel exactly how hard that hits at the moment of impact. I'm not pushing on it, but I am still touching this tool. I am feeling how it bounces back. I am feeling that moment of impact. I feel exactly what that does, and that's an experience thing, just like tuning with a rigid lever, just like tuning with a lever tool. It is an experience thing very much, but I also know, just like with the rigid lever, exactly how far and how hard I threw this tool. With a rigid lever, I know exactly how hard I pushed, or how hard I was pushing when I felt that pin give. So it's a very similar feedback system. You're feeling for different things. It's much more instantaneous with the impact hammer, although you also have those other variables you've got more time to gather data on mentally through the incredible processor system that is your brain. Different pianos want to be talked to differently. Sometimes this method of coming down to pitch and then bumping it a little bit up, the non-singing length, just giving this non-singing length a touch of extra tension, sometimes a piano just will not work with that. And you're going to have to figure out exactly how that piano wants to be talked to. Some pianos simply will not hold a tune. I have a specific Everett console in mind that I can bang on a key. I can do triple forte test blows, and I can drive that pitch down and down and down and down until there's no tension left in the singing length. Some pianos are just designed poorly. That said, this tool, you can absolutely do a tuning with this tool that on any piano that you can tune with any other tuning lever, and have it be exactly as, if not more stable, than with a rigid type tuning lever. Thanks for watching. I hope that helps.